So fascinating. It takes 5 episodes before I finally realized that, yeah, Ruby doesn't see things the same way that Aqua and I did. She literally said, for my first big gig, I don't want to lie. And it's like, wow, I never noticed that. I never noticed the fact that, now, I don't expect Ruby to say, you as an idol, you need to tell the truth, but it more so kind of made me go, wait, hold on a second. The first episode, all that was about was the lies of the industry and how I herself was successful because she lied. And Ruby never seen any of that. Everything was the truth to her. Wow. Super like, whoa, boom kind of moment for me. And that's kind of interesting. It's very interesting that Ruby and I had a perspective of the industry and Ruby didn't. She never seen that. And it makes sense from the position that she was. She was this poor girl that was ill, had this tumor, was going to die. She did die. And it was all, the thing that was keeping her happy was this lie that she didn't know was a lie. And so it makes me, that seems way too obvious for that to be something that's going to eventually blow up in her face, or she's going to realize at some point, or maybe probably Aqua himself is going to tell her one day, look, your mom was a lie. And that's why she was successful. So get out there and tell a lie. And I think it's going to be a conflict for her not to want to do that. I think I think Ruby is going to figure out how to be successful as an idol without lying. I think that'll probably be her big turning point, the thing that's going to set her aside from her mother. Because honestly, as we've kind of been painting this whole time, she is literally just wanting to follow in her mother's footsteps and being her mother, while the entire time not letting people know that they're related. So, super interesting there. But yes, of course, the majority of this episode, opening it up, let's get the established beginning part out of the way, is yes, Aqua recruiting Kana. And the obvious issue there is that Ruby has to ask her to come, which they're not super friends. She does admit that honestly, Kana is perfect for the industry. She's got the face, she's got the hair and everything for otaku, but the problem is that she has to tell Kana in a way that she's cute, and she doesn't like that. But there it goes. That was exactly what I was saying in the last episode impressions. Why would Kana do this? It doesn't make sense to her character. And I had a lot of comments, people replying to my video saying, you know, look, you could do both. And I like the fact that even though I did tell most people that, the episode says it too. It's literally, Kana said exactly what I was saying. From the very beginning, her struggle is, I can't do this. The answer is no, obviously, because if I do this, then I'm going to lose all of my chances here. All of these positions for young actresses, I'm going to lose them all. And I'm going to go to an industry that discards old for new constantly. There's a good possibility all the bets are pretty much saying the odds are against me. In the end, I'll be discarded and I'll lose out on all these roles. There's just too much of a high probability that I'm going to be a failure in the end. So it's an obvious no. And yes, like I was saying back here, the only way that I can see it working is Aqua saying, please, I need you. And she goes, okay. It gets more in the idea that Aqua believes, from his perspective, he was manipulating Kana. Though he was telling her the truth. No, I mean, yes, she's cute. He needs her. He didn't say anything that was a lie, but he was reading her that she was very easily manipulated. And she was very easy to twist her arm and make her fall into line. And he did that. Now, in the end, it does seem like it's Kana that's getting benefited. She doesn't like the idea still. She's not, even when they're talking about giving, choosing a name and everything, she's like, no, I don't want that because then that'll solidify that this is existing. She doesn't like it in the end, but she is getting a benefit. That she'll be closer to Aqua and she'll be able to learn the things that she wants to learn from him. Even though he's doing a dating thing right now. But again, in this whole segment here, it's hitting heavy on that aspect. I'm going to be conflicted between the two of them. I won't have time for the two of them. I'm going to be forced into one role. But the way that she sort of accepts that is, well, right now, my title sucks. I am the has-been child actress. And so maybe I need a sharpened arm. Maybe I need to try something. Maybe I need to shake up my foundations and try something new. And that's what Kana's technically doing. But again, I'm glad that everything I was saying back here that people were saying I'm wrong comes true in what Kana says. Yes, you can do acting and idol roles, but there's a conflict there. There's a time conflict. There's an issue with getting roles. There's an issue with the stigma and the positions that you have. There's so many things in play that makes it not work. Besides maybe the main thing that I was kind of pointing out to a lot of people, which is time. Idols take a lot of time. Acting takes a lot of time. You can't do both in a lot of cases. And if you do both, you're only doing like the low bit stuff. If you have a lead role in a acting job, you're going to have to sit there and commit to learning all the lines, learning the emotions, learning the source material, learning all that stuff in order to perform well. Kana is focused on performing well. Yes, you can half-butt it. That's the case. That's the case with everything. Even with idols. There's a lot of routines you have to sit there and do over and over and over again to perfect. Again, if you're going to be a good idol, again, you can half-butt it. Everything can be half-efforted. But in order to perfect them, you need to dedicate. And that's what Kana is going to be conflicted with. But again, in the end, she strong-arm into it, but also in the idea that she wants to learn something from Aqua. So she does benefit. But I was right. But yes, we get the reveal that Aqua's big role in TV, his next role is this reality TV show, which he's forcing himself to do because he wants this information. And I love it. The moment that he first walks into the door in the opening scene, Ruby and Nakana's like, who the hell is that? That is not Aqua. But again, right here, we establish very quickly, Miyako points it out to them. Yes, this is all acting. This is fake. Big shock to nobody, especially the West. I hope there's nobody out there that believes that reality TV shows are reality. They have never been really reality. I think some of the earlier creations of reality TV shows had a feel of reality just because it was kind of forcing people into difficult situations, and those are the ones that were really successful. And I think over time, they wanted to keep compounding on that. They wanted to keep hitting on that, and so they just kind of forced the I want to say actors, force the contestants or whatever to act and be outraged. And it's true. I have had a couple of experiences in this. One main key one that I tell a lot of people was that I knew somebody that was going to be on one of those makeover TV shows, and they were in the early stages of it. They had a child that had some sort of disability, and the show wanted to do it for them because of that aspect. You know, help them out because they have this child that is special needs. And the reason why they weren't chosen is because when they did the pre-filming for the introduction, they weren't being emotional enough. They found their child a blessing. They loved their child. They didn't want to act as if their child was a burden and that they're sad and stuff. Their child was the light of their life, and they were happy about their child. So they wouldn't get emotional enough. They wouldn't get down enough for the show to raise them up. That's literally the show was to say, we're good people because we're fixing their problems. And they weren't fixing their problems because they were already happy. They were just dealing with financial issues. They had to act. Reality TV is acting. And they definitely hit that on this episode. When they have these characters coming in there, they're supposed to act. They're supposed to act like these cute, hot actors that are all getting together for this dating kind of routine. And even later on, it blows up in Aqua's face. Despite him knowing that, it still blows up in his face. As you see, it seems like the script is not wrote for these characters. They're supposed to sit there and talk about things. They sort of nudge them. Hey, can you make sure that you talk about what you talked about before so that people get kind of caught up on what your past history conversation is? And they kind of push them to make sure you know when the cameras are near you to act to them, essentially. But they're just supposed to talk. And at some point, again, Aqua sees this. He knows this. He's getting a sense that this is all acting. Some point, Yuki walks up to him. Yuki Sumi walks up to him. And she's talking about how this is bizarre. I know I don't really talk to people much about relationships and stuff, so this is kind of out of my zone. He's like, yeah, I kind of like the idea of relationship, but I'm stuck on something. So we get a hint here that Aqua is still attached to Ai. He believes that he can't let her go. It's not so much, he says that he doesn't specifically think that he was in love with Ai, but that Ai was somebody that he cherished, and he can't let her go. And that's what's kind of bogging him down. Now, from our perspective, it's a sense of, yeah, that's his focus. He loved Ai. He cherished Ai. He looked up to Ai. She was this idol. But at the same time, he can't let her go, so he can't move on with his life. Into relationships. But, again, this is where it catches him. He starts to feel casual with Yuki Sumi. Yuki Sumi is essentially manipulating him and talking about his past, which you don't normally get with the show. He's not open about this stuff. She was able to pull that out of him, make him feel comfortable, and it gives us a sense very quickly it's an act. Now, did she transition at some point because the cameras are on, or was she always acting? That's the big question mark. I believe she was always acting. And I think that's the sense that he gets, and that's what he kind of throws in Ruby's face later on. You have a terrible sense of people. You did too. You fell into it as well. Aqua says that Yuki's the best. She's the timid one. She's the pure-hearted one. Aqua felt that same way too, and he gave in to her. And at some point, he realized, oh, now she's getting a little close. Now she's like, if it was you, I'd kiss you. That was the point where he realized, oh wait, this is all an act. He fell into it. I like that. I liked seeing a character fall into something. Despite the fact that it gives a sense that he knows everything, that he's super cold, that he's got this all figured out, every now and then he slips up. It makes him more relatable. It makes me like him as a character more because I can see that he can fall every now and then. But yeah, reality TV shows or unreality shows, we all knew it, but it's just still kind of interesting to get into. And I think there's a lot of people out there that probably still think that reality TV shows are reality. And I think because of so many of them becoming such soap operas, they become so over the top that people have just kind of fell into the oddity of it. It's kind of like wrestling, pro wrestling. It's this idea that, yes, most people know that it's all a big act, but it's still physical and it still has people getting injured, so people still enjoy that aspect of it. But most people know that it is all performance. It's the same thing with reality TV shows. It's overly bombastic to the point where it's entertaining. Yeah, I guess some people could still think it's actually real. But anyways, the characters that were brought up into it, I still think Yuki is still kind of normal in a sense, but I do believe that she's not timid, obviously. But yes, obviously Mimcho was probably the most colorful character of the cast brought into the picture. A YouTuber or a VTuber, whatever she is, I don't know. She's a little too quirky. I know she's gonna be psycho. I'm already getting a sense that Mimcho is gonna be super weird. It's always that trouble with the characters that have the facade, and it's typically, especially anime, the further they're this direction, the more they're actually this direction. So hopefully Mimcho is not just an absolute psychopath or jerk or something like that. Hopefully when the facade drops away, it doesn't turn into a creepy, over-the-top, sinister character. But we'll see. We'll see. You don't have to leave a comment right now saying, no, Mimcho's this. I don't need the answers, people. I love whenever I ask a question, people just assume that I need to know everything about the 50th volume or something. But no, despite all that, I did like the fact that Miyako's there really kind of instilling upon Ruby and Kana the realities of reality TV. And part of that was explained to Kana that in this business, eventually you're going to have to do something. Because Kana's obviously upset about this. He's on a dating show. They're always known to having these kiss scenes at the very end of the show itself, just to be that bombastic ending. And she's afraid that Aqua is going to have to kiss somebody. Obviously, she's uncomfortable about it. But Miyako is, yes, pretty much pointing out to her something that she really should know by this point. Kana, if you have these feelings of chastity and stuff, you need to discard it because this is this industry. The more older you get, the more you're going to open yourself up for this kind of stuff. You're not going to always be able to keep that kiss that you want to keep for that loved one. You're going to have to eventually act out that scene because it's part of romance, and if you're going to get into romance, you're going to have to do that. But yeah, the other section of this episode was obviously, I guess you can call a debut for Ruby and Kana. They start their act of trying to get their name out there, and that is through pretty much connections because, yes, Ichigo Productions have been doing online promotions. They've been doing a lot of YouTuber, social media kind of stuff, so that's their foreground, which is great. That's kind of one of those things where early on when we talked about how Ichigo Productions has transitioned from being the production group for B Komachi and now is suddenly just helping social media people. And it's like, that's technically good now. And that's what they're kind of pointing out in this episode. Yeah, we don't have much connections to go into some underground idol group or something like that, or go over to here to get this venue. We have connections online, and that's where things are at now. That's how you can easily get your name out there. YouTube, go viral, something like that. And yes, one of their connections is Payon. Payon, this bird-faced muscle man, which, yeah, wasn't feeling it. I'm not too into that side of the comedy of Japan, and so having this long segment where it's just him flexing and singing was like, oh, please, come on, move on. I don't care. Props to the guy for getting 100 million yen a year, but I don't care. Again, it kind of knowing the idea this is something that is viral in Japan. at least for this character, viral in Japan for elementary school students, you know, kids that like love these doofy looking things. And yes, that's a thing. But it was kind of funny to Kana just so discount it, and then he just like, well, I make 100 million a year. She's like, I'm sorry, I discounted you. But yeah, it turns this whole thing where he makes this big video. I'm gonna make these two idols dance for an hour, and if they can face reveal on the channel. But it was cool because there was something sprinkled in here. The idea was impact. You have to get impact. You gotta open people's eyes to whatever you have. That is obviously YouTube. It's getting people's attention, it's hitting trends, it's posting every day. It's all these things that most people don't see because you're not watching everything. But underneath there was sort of a change in what Kana believes of Ruby. Because early on, the thing they wanted to do was the lie. And Ruby didn't want to do the lie. I mentioned that earlier. The lie was to act out a surprise wake up. Which, yes, all of those are fake. I mean, there's probably some that are real, but for the most part, it's all fake. Japan loves wake-up call things. They love to bring the cannon in and shoot it off to wake up the person and have the camera setting on them to see their reaction. You can't roll in a cannon into somebody's room and nobody notices. They know. They're told beforehand. Kana points out that it's the best thing for idols because who knows what would happen if you came in there with a camera crew and they were sleeping with somebody else. That would be bad. So they tell them beforehand, and that's why Ruby didn't want to do it. She doesn't want to lie, which again is counter to I, even though she wants to be I. But while Kana is upset about this, we could have done that. It would have been easier. Now we have to do this thing where we dance for a whole hour just to show our faces. Kana sees Ruby, despite struggling, is enjoying herself. I can't believe I'm stuck with this girl. She's an amateur. This is why this is never going to work. She doesn't accept the industry. But then Ruby's happy. And again, I think this is a sign that Kana is seeing what's going to make Ruby special. Everybody sees I in Ruby. That was one of the original things that was pulling Kana to accept was she's seen I in Ruby. And I had what it took to be great. Ruby has what it takes to be great. But she's upset at Ruby for being this amateur and not accepting how the industry is and how you have to lie. But she's seeing, like I said earlier, the thing that's going to make Ruby stand out from I. She wants to be genuine. She's sort of the trope center character for idol shows. The character that's so honest and so genuine that her face and her joy is infectious to the crowd. And again, that might be the direction they're taking Ruby with this show. And the manga, obviously. So I'll be curious to see how that turns out. But great episode overall. A lot to talk about here. Like I said, just so much digging into different industries. And I hope this is how they're going to keep doing this, is keep showing different parts of the industry that you can really dig into and see the realities of it. Like reality TV shows, idols, acting, all that kind of stuff. But anyways, that's my thoughts on episode 5 of Oshinoko. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, if you did, make sure that like button down below, comment, let me know what's the thought of the episode. Additionally, if you're new to this channel, make sure that subscribe button so you get all my content. I do news, reviews, first impressions, top list if it's anime, it's pretty much here. Additionally, if you want to support the channel more, I have a Patreon link, tips link, super thanks, and membership button down below. I greatly appreciate everybody that supports the channel. You guys mean so much to me, and y'all take care. And no, I'm not doing the muscle man dance.